3 days ago, the PlayStation 5 was actually announced. Did you hear about it? There's a chance you might not have. Like, unless you're keeping up with the Kotakus and the Game Facts, there's a chance... There's a chance that you might not have even seen this. PS5 was officially announced from Sony in a blog post talking about its launch date being holiday 2020. And they're not going to be saying much about it, but a bit. There's no official, like, here's what the system looks like, here's what the games are, here's all this stuff. It's kind of a weird announcement in my opinion, just because usually in the past they have something to accompany it, like PlayStation 5 is coming, it's coming in 2020. Here's the next thing you can look forward to. They mostly were like, yo, there's a PS5, holiday 2020, the controller's gonna be USB-C. Mwah, thank God. It's going to be like haptic feedback, meaning that there's going to be a variety of tensions to triggers and buttons. I'm like, that's cool. I'm not really worried about the PlayStation controller. That's like the thing I'm the least worried about. They've already acknowledged a level of backwards compatibility with the system, which is cool. They haven't said how backwards compatible it is going to be, but even in some recent Japanese interviews talking about this stuff, they did say that their backwards compatibility announcements are not set in stone and how backwards compatible it's going to be, so we're just gonna hold off on what the hell they're gonna be announcing until later. It's my personal hope, though, that this system's gonna be able to play all the PlayStation 4 games, and it's going to be able to play all the PlayStation 4 games at higher resolutions and higher frame rates. Which is absolutely a possibility with what is in this system. This system is not going to be cheap. Just based on the CPU specs alone, the CPU that they're going to be potentially putting in this system, which I think is having 16 total threads, 8 cores, can be upwards of $300 normally. I think the minimum price of the PlayStation 5 is going to be $500. That's the minimum. I think we're back to good old Sony $599.99. I think we're back there, because that's going to be the price of like a deluxe model, something that has a little bit bigger of storage space. I think $1,000 easy is what it's going to be. So we're going to be in PlayStation 3 eras of fuck, this is expensive. However, there's a good reason behind that, and it's because there's some stuff in here that I'm genuinely really excited about. The number one thing is the way it's utilizing solid-state hard drives. Apparently they have their own proprietary solid-stateness that they're doing, and it makes perfect sense that they would do their own proprietary Sony memory thing, because they have a history of doing that ever since the PlayStation 1. So I think we're gonna get a system that loads things fast. And I don't know if anyone saw the Spider-Man demo. Someone leaked a video of a PlayStation 4 Pro loading Spider-Man from the previous generation, from this generation, next to it loading on the next generation. And something would take 8 seconds on PS4 Pro, would take 0.8 seconds on a PS5. It's fast. Like, it's insanely fast. And that, to me, alleviates a big part, because this all relates to fighting games. Everything with me was going to relate to fighting games, and which way fighting games can be better in the future. To me, this alleviates a huge problem that I've had for fighting games. A huge problem! It takes way too long to play people in fighting games. It takes way too long to get one person to match up with another person to eventually get them into the fight. I can't stand menus, dude. I can't stand how long it takes to load shit in order to get someone to fight another person. It's gotta load the versus screen. It's gotta load... Done with it. Like, if we could get that to take less than a second, if we can have an experience that I get when I play Tekken on mobile, where I'm stuck in this shit for 2 hours because I haven't realized that I've stopped, because every time I lose, I hit rematch and I'm just immediately playing someone. Every time I win, I hit rematch and I'm immediately playing someone. I just get stuck on this infinite loop. If I could have that on fighting games, that would be incredible. That would be absolutely incredible. That's what I want. I don't want to in a fighting game, I don't want to have to deal with shit that isn't me fighting. I don't. Unless it's training, and I'm specifically training and waiting for people to fight through training, I just want to fight people. So the interesting thing about the way this SSD is going to be working, the way it's going to be transmitting data and streaming this data, is the fact that you don't have to install the full game on the PS5. That was the big announcement, is that games will be modular. You're going to be able to download, if not install, only certain parts of the game. If you're like, yo, I just beat this fighting game, I don't need the single player anymore. You can get rid of the single player portion of the game and just have the multiplayer remaining installed on the system. That's big. Because this is a solid state drive, it's only going to have so much space available. And for it to have so much space available, that's pretty huge. For example, if you don't want, if you're playing like what, a Call of Duty or some shit that only has single player, or has single player and multiplayer, you can get just the single player and not upload the multiplayer if you want to save space. Is that how Halo Master Chief Collection works now? That's good. That's fantastic, because a big issue on these systems is that things are too big, man. Like, you want to keep your copy of Red Dead Redemption, it's going to cost you 150 gigs and your mother's arm. Like, there's so much damn space. Like, I heard the new Call of Duty is going to be upwards of 175 gigs on PC. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So, all things considered, the fact that we can have our fighting games only be just the multiplayer part and not burdened with, if not more data that can be clumping together to mess with a bunch of other shit, that could make that experience be a lot faster. That can make the experience of getting yourself from not playing the game to playing online with another person a lot faster. And that's a big thing for next gen, that this system, or whatever Microsoft is doing, we want to change this. We want to make it so that these experiences run quicker. That's a big deal, man. That's actually that's kind of game breaking, in my opinion, to bring us into the next generation. That's a big ass deal. Yeah, Street Fighter V's story is kind of like that as well. That's very true. It isn't the entire thing, but that's the idea, is that do you want to have all of Street Fighter V story mode? Do you want to have all of Street Fighter V multiplayer? Do you want to have all of Street Fighter V's arcade modes? And just choose, like, no, I don't. Like, it's like installing something from Adobe. Do I want this? No, I don't want this, I want this. There's other announcements of it supporting like 8K and 120 hertz. Dude, I just want things to run at 60 frames per second. And I think we're actually going to get that. I'm glad that eventually, over the past 5-6 years, the complaint of things running at higher frame rates has now been justified by a consumer base. People being like, hey, man, your game runs terribly. Like, why does the game run at 30 and it's got horrible frame drops in between that 30? Like, what is going on? The fact that that is something that they're going to most likely specifically take into account is big. So, yeah, if your frame rate averages anything above 56, 58 FPS, that's huge, dude. That's huge. 8K is bullshit. Like, to be honest, 8K is complete bullshit. You can't even watch an 8K video and have that be even imaginably small enough to fit on anything. Like, 8K video would honestly, to actually look like it's 8K, have to have a bit rate of over 250 megs per second. 4 seconds is a gig in like 8K video. It's bullshit is what it is. It's not anything. So 4K is a decent target. 4K makes sense. 8K is a huge waste of resources. I think 4K is honestly a kind of a big waste of resources for some games. While I think 2K, 1440p, is a decent target for a lot of stuff. But outside of what's being announced for the system itself, outside of what I feel about, what the next generation could bring, which is everything just running faster and looking better, which is good. I think it's going to be happening around the same time frame that the PlayStation 4 got announced. PlayStation 4 had a big event in February, I believe, 2013. And then it came out later in 2013. I feel like in my kingdom of hearts that February 2020, we're going to get an announcement that we're going to be able to see the next generation. There's going to be like an official announcement announcing the PlayStation 5 hardware. You can see it. They'll announce a couple of games, and they'll announce even more games and more release dates around E3. This entire mini announcement here to the release date that they're talking about, which is late next year, lines up perfectly with what they did for the PlayStation 4. And that makes sense because what happened to the PS4 did pretty good. Ended up doing pretty good. Yeah, November 2020 is most likely when we're going to see the system launch too. I got some personal hopes though, because all things considered, I don't give a rat's ass what the hell this PlayStation 5 can do, how beefy it is, if it's going to run Fantavision and its 6 sequels. I don't care. I'm sorry for you guys that love Fantavision. All I care about is the games. All I care about is what games did Sony budget? What did they go out to Capcom and do? What did they go to From Software? Like, all these dudes that they got out there buying studios and stuff, and they are getting this shit done. I've been hearing about next gen for so long. Like, I feel like it's been 3 years that I've been hearing about developers talking about next gen stuff. About like, there's next gen dev kits here and here. Some guys got it, some guy doesn't. Like, I can't say anything about it, but now that it's officially announced, this shit's been in, it feels like it's been in the wild for a long time, and there's been rumors for a long time. So much so that I was assuming that 2019 was going to be when next gen was going to launch a couple years ago. I'm like, man, feels like next gen could actually be launching, if not get announced, early 2019 and then launch 2019. Didn't end up happening. They're saving it for 2020. So what I'm trying to say is that they've given a lot of time. Like, a lot of devs out there have been given time to make next generation experiences happen. Yeah, obviously, FF7 Remake. FF7 Remake is obviously going to be on next gen. Most likely is going to be a launch title, meaning that unless it's out for PC, will be the best way to play FF7 Remake by the time that happens. But, I don't know. I think we can see remasters of old games, but I don't even think we're going to see remasters because God of War and Horizon will come out on next gen, but they're most likely just going to use the same discs that you had from your PS4 version, but they'll run better. But they'll run at better frame rates. They'll run at higher resolution. I care about the games, man. I desperately want to see what the hell Square Enix has been up to, what the hell Bandai Namco has been up to, what the hell Capcom has been up to with this next generation hardware, because that's huge to me. It seems like potentially, since this has been such a... This isn't like a Dreamcast situation where the developer has 6 months to put all this time into a game, or, you know, a PlayStation 1. There's a chance there could be a very healthy amount of games for this system when it does launch. And the fact that its structure, the way the system works, is already so similar to the PS4 that developers don't have to just unlock the genome of the PlayStation 3 cell processor to make games. They don't have to do that. Like, they can keep making games the same way that they're making them. So it is all about the games with me. It absolutely is. Why'd you think I was pissed that Killer Instinct was coming out on an Xbox? I loved the game, but I didn't want it to come out on something that everyone hated. Like, I just want people to play the games. So I don't care what system it comes out on. It could it be Bloodborne 2? I don't know. Like, there's a lot that Sony could do to make people happy. And I think we're going to get a first glimpse of that in February 2020. It's going to be somewhere around that time frame that we hear about it. And the fighting games. Next generation fighting games that could potentially be using crossplay and GGPO. Like, the perfect storm for the future of friggin' fighting games is so damn important to me. I can't wait to see what happens. I really can't wait to see what happens. I'm excited for the future, dude. Like, all this crossplay, the GGPO thing, the PlayStation 5 announcement, it all happening right around the same time is like... There's gonna be some big-ass game out there that's gonna make a lot of people really happy. Or multiple games that'll make a lot of people really happy. Boiling it down, I really hope the one that tries the most and succeeds is Capcom. Can Capcom please make Street Fighter 5, make whatever the hell else they're... Street Fighter 6, make whatever the hell else they're doing, can we make this shit happen? Can we get some Capcom fighting games that now step up to the mantle of all these other fighting game developers that have been doing amazing? Please, let's get Capcom to be like, you know, we've been fucking around with these fighting games for way too long. Now is the time. And to be frank, there's no better time than a launch of a system. There's going to have to be a fighting game on the launch of the PlayStation 5 in some way, and I hope Capcom is the one to do it. I really do. I personally hope that at the end of this year, when there is the Capcom Pro Tour, the finals, that we run into a similar situation that we did in 2014 with the Capcom Pro Tour finals. And what they show at the end of that, they showed the first glimpse of Street Fighter V. So I hope they take a small repeat of history and then are like, yo, here's our last season of Street Fighter 4. I'm sorry, Street Fighter 5. And here's a glimpse of Street Fighter 6. I hope so, man. I really do. I don't think Street Fighter 5 should continue 2020 with a whole nother batch of updates. I feel a lot of people have been echoing a similar sentiment that over the past year, it seems like there should be something else. Either way. I don't want it to be Street Fighter 6. I mean, actually, you know what? I take that back. I want it to be Street Fighter 6, but I want Capcom to make a badass Street Fighter 6. I want them to make a mechanically deep and competent fighting game with a large variety of characters that looks fucking amazing, that has crossplay and runs online. I think that'd be awesome. I would love to love Street Fighter as much as I love Third Strike. I would love that. It doesn't need to be Third Strike, it just needs to be fun. It needs to be fun, and it allows the players to be creative. Like, I just want them to take some risks. Do some stuff instead of taking away stuff. What I really want is Capcom All-Stars or Marvel 4. What I really want is that, but we'll just let them figure that out.